from in debt to investor. Seems impossible. Does not. The truth is that most people carry debts as if it were a permanent burden, believing they will never get out of this cycle of accumulating bills every month. But there is a practical, direct, and tested way to turn this around in just 6 months. We're not talking about magical formulas or promises of quick wealth, but about conscious and intelligent decisions that will transform their relationship with money. If today you feel like you work hard but money always slips away, this is the turning point that will open your eyes to a new reality. Have you noticed how society has normalized living in debt? Credit cards are treated as extra income, financing becomes a lifestyle, and suddenly you find yourself trapped in a snowball that seems impossible to control. The problem is not you. The problem lies in the system that was designed to keep you spending non-stop. But here we will turn the tables. We will expose the rules that banks don't tell you, show you how to create a clear plan, and most importantly, how to apply discipline without giving up your lifestyle. Because managing finances is not about living tightly. It's about achieving financial peace and real time for what truly matters. Imagine 6 months from now. You look at your statement and realize that debts are decreasing, the balance is growing, and for the first time, investing doesn't seem like something out of this world. That's the goal. Turn anxiety into clarity, turn guilt into action, and turn debt into investment. And it doesn't matter where you are right now. Whether you have overdue bills, maxed out credit cards, or just feel like nothing is left at the end of the month, this guide was made for you. What you will learn here is applicable in everyday life. These are steps that anyone can follow, but that only work if they decide to take action. And it's not just about cutting expenses or making complicated spreadsheets. It's about changing the way you think about money. When you start seeing every dollar as an employee who should work for you, their mentality changes. And it's this mindset that separates those who remain trapped in debts from those who build real wealth. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If it were so simple, everyone would already do it. But here's the secret. It's not about simplicity, it's about consistency. People fail because they want instant results. The personal finance game is different. It's about planting the right seeds, taking care of them every day, and reaping the results at the right time. And this time can be much shorter than you imagine. 6 months is enough to build solid foundations that change not only your numbers in the bank, but your confidence in dealing with money. Get ready, because each chapter will guide you through a step of this process. Let's start by debunking myths, then set clear strategies, and finally pave the way for you to become an investor. All in simple, direct language without beating around the bush. You will feel like you finally have someone translating the financial world into your reality, without complicated terms and false promises. This is the beginning of your journey. From tightness to freedom. From fear to control. From debt to investment. Now, it's up to you to decide whether to stay where you are or take the first step to make the next 6 months the most important of your financial life. Before any strategy, we need to break the biggest myth about money. Believing that debt is a sign of personal failure. This belief undermines their self-esteem and prevents them from seeing solutions. Debt does not define character. Debt is just a consequence of choices, circumstances, often even of a system that encourages consumption without teaching financial management. What defines them is how they react to it. When they decide to face their situation head-on and say, "I will change this," they are already steps ahead of most. The first practical step to turn the game around is simple. Know exactly how much you owe. It seems obvious, but many people avoid opening the full statement for fear of facing reality. This fear is precisely what keeps them trapped. The brain creates the illusion that if they don't look, the pain decreases. But each ignored bill increases the problem. Clarity is liberating because it gives the power of decision. Without clarity, they act in the dark. With clarity, they see the way. Grab paper and pen or open a spreadsheet and put each debt, each amount, each interest rate, and each term. Don't skip anything. The more transparent they are with themselves, the faster they create the foundation to get out of this. And here's the secret that almost no one talks about. Often the problem is not the size of the debt, it's the psychological effect of it. When they see the numbers coldly, they realize it is not impossible. It may be challenging but never impossible. From there, a powerful mindset change arises. Instead of thinking, I owe too much, I will never make it, they start thinking, okay, I owe X, and now I will create a strategy to turn this X into zero. This transforms panic into a plan. And having a plan already puts them in control, even if the numbers haven't changed yet. Control is not about how much they have now, it's about the direction they are heading. Here comes a crucial point for the algorithm of their financial life. Interest rates. They are the secret gears that turn small debts into giant monsters. When they understand how interest rates work, they realize why paying off debts is urgent. Every month that goes by is money going down the drain. It's not just about paying the minimum, it's about cutting off the flow of money lost to the banks. And when they put that into perspective, they realize that every dollar saved is a dollar they take out of the hands of the banks and put back into theirs. That's why this first step is about radical awareness. They need to face the numbers, even if it hurts. They need to understand how interest rates are draining their income. They need to accept that denying reality only prolongs the problem. This initial shock isn't pleasant, but it's necessary. Think of it like an athlete looking in the mirror and deciding to train to change their body. The first look may be tough, but it's exactly that look that generates transformation. At the end of this phase, they will have something precious. The real photograph of their situation. No more guesswork, no more assumptions. Just facts. And facts are the raw material of change. With them, they build plans that actually work. This is the foundation of their turnaround. Now that they have a clear picture of their debts, it's time to turn that vision into a strategy. It's not enough to just know how much they owe. The power lies in deciding how to attack. And here come two proven approaches. The avalanche method and the snowball method. Both work, but each one plays with their mind in a different way. The avalanche method is mathematically unbeatable. They list their debts in order of interest rate, from highest to lowest. Focus on paying off the most expensive debt first, while continuing to pay the minimum on all others. This reduces the total cost they hand over to the bank and speeds up the process in the long run. It's like putting out the most dangerous fire before taking care of the smaller embers. The snowball method is psychological. You list debts from the smallest to the largest. They pay off the lightest first, feel a quick victory, gain confidence, and then move on to the next one. This emotional boost keeps them motivated because each payment is like scoring a point on the scoreboard. It's like a series of small victories that build discipline and consistency. Which one to choose? The best method is the one they will actually follow. If they are driven by logic and numbers, the avalanche is perfect. If they need constant motivation to not give up, the snowball is their way. There is no right or wrong. What matters is consistency, because the only strategy that fails is the one they abandon halfway. Now, there is a key point that needs to be said. It's not just about paying off debts, but about preventing new debts from arising. There's no point in trying to make up for the loss if at the same time they're still feeding the problem. This requires a surgical cut in expenses that drain their wallet without bringing real return. Ask yourself, does this expense bring me closer to freedom or further entangle me? Each answer will guide their choices. And here comes a powerful hack: renegotiation. Yes, they can renegotiate debts. Banks and financial institutions prefer to receive less than to risk receiving nothing. Often, an assertive call, explaining their situation and proposing a plan, reduces fees or even cuts some of the accumulated interest. This conversation only works when they show clarity and firmness, not when they call without knowing their numbers. Remember the previous step. This is where it starts to pay off. More than mathematics, this moment is about attitude. When they organize, choose a method, and start acting, their mindset changes. They stop being a hostage and start becoming a strategist. Each payment made is not just one less bill. It is a move on the chessboard that brings them closer to freedom. This is the essence of this phase. Practical strategy combined with emotional discipline. What once seemed like an impossible mountain begins to fragment into concrete steps. And when they feel they are moving forward, even slowly, their anxiety decreases. Fear turns into action. With each bill paid, they are telling themselves, I am in control now. They have already organized their debts and chosen the strategy to tackle them. Now it's time to take the next step, building a budget that really works. Not that rigid and impossible to maintain budget, but a system that puts them in control without turning their life into a suffocating spreadsheet. The most common mistake people make is believing that budget means cutting out everything that brings pleasure. That's why so many people give up halfway. The key is to create a realistic plan that balances responsibility with quality of life. Because if they feel that living well depends on ignoring every desire, they will end up sabotaging the process. A simple and powerful method is the 50/30/20 rule. Half of their income goes to basic needs: rent, food, transportation. 30% is for desires: leisure, experiences, small indulgences. The last 20% is directed towards the future: paying off debts, building a reserve, starting to invest. This division brings clarity, because they know exactly where each dollar should go. But the secret lies in personalization. Maybe they need to allocate more than 20% to debts for a few months. Perhaps they need to temporarily reduce leisure to accelerate their freedom. The point is not to follow the formula to the letter, but to use it as a guide. The goal is to create a money flow that supports their plans, not one that becomes a prison. And here comes another crucial point: tracking expenses. If they don't know where their money is going, they will never be able to control where it should go. Write down every expense, no matter how small. Use apps, notes on the phone, or even a notebook. The important thing is not to let anything slip away. At first it may seem laborious, but in a few weeks you start to see patterns. And those patterns are revealing. Often it's not the big expense that sinks their budget, but the accumulation of small leaks that go unnoticed. When they see these details, they gain the power to decide. That subscription they don't even use, that impulse delivery, that coffee that became an automatic routine. All of this can be adjusted without them feeling a major impact. These are smart cuts, not blind sacrifices. The budget is not an enemy. It is a map. It shows where they are and where they are headed. When they start to see results, they realize that discipline doesn't confine, it liberates. Because every conscious choice today makes room for bigger choices tomorrow. This is the point where they start to feel lightness. Not because they became rich overnight, but because finally they know that every dollar has a defined destination. They have stopped being a passenger and have taken the wheel. This phase is crucial because it is what sustains everything else. There's no point in paying debts if they don't control where the money goes. There's no point in wanting to invest if they don't know what's left. The budget is the foundation that keeps their financial house standing. Without it, any progress crumbles. With it, every advancement is solid and sustainable. It's time to talk about what sets apart those who live putting out fires from those who start building security. The emergency fund. They may think it makes no sense to save money while still paying off debts, but here's the truth that almost no one tells. Without an emergency fund, any unexpected event throws them back to square one. Imagine the scenario. They are paying their debts properly, in control, progressing each month. Suddenly the car breaks down, the cell phone stops working, or an unexpected medical bill appears. If they do not have savings, the solution is always the same: credit card or loan. The result: more debt, more interest, more delays. That's why creating this financial cushion is a priority, even if it seems impossible at first. The emergency fund does not need to be born complete. It is not about accumulating thousands of dollars at once. The first goal is simple: $1,000. This amount covers most day-to-day emergencies and prevents them from resorting to credit. When they reach this goal, they will already feel an absurd mental peace, because they know they do not need to panic in the face of an unexpected event. After reaching this first step, the next one is to accumulate the equivalent of 3 to 6 months of essential expenses. This is the shield that ensures their financial survival in case of unemployment, income loss, or any unexpected crisis. 3 months provide a good buffer. If they want to sleep even more soundly, aim for 6 months. But remember, they build this fund gradually, while continuing to advance towards other goals. Now, the practical question: where to keep this money? The answer is simple: The emergency fund is not meant for investing in stocks, cryptocurrencies, or anything risky. It should be in a safe, liquid, and accessible place. A separate savings account, a money market account, or even a short-term certificate of deposit can work. The important thing is that the money is protected and ready for immediate use. And here is the mental trigger that helps you build that reserve even when it seems like there is nothing left. Automate. Set up an automatic transfer on the day you receive your salary. Treat this contribution as if it were a mandatory expense, like rent or electricity. If you wait to save only when there is something left, it will never happen. The magic of automation is that, in a short time, you adapt and don't even miss that amount. Another efficient trick is to redirect small wins. Received an unexpected bonus. Saved some money in a lighter month. Any extra money goes straight to the fund. It's like feeding an invisible safe that, little by little, completely changes your relationship with money. The emergency fund is more than just numbers. It is a state of mind. It is the difference between waking up every morning anxious about what could go wrong and waking up calmly knowing that you are prepared. This kind of peace is priceless. And when you achieve this, every next step becomes lighter. Because now you are not just paying off debts or managing a budget. You are building real security. This is the moment when your financial life stops being about survival and starts being about planning. You go from being a victim of circumstances to someone who decides the next move. It is the foundation that supports everything that comes after. Investments, dreams, freedom. Up to this point, you have learned how to organize debts, set up a strategy, create a budget, and establish an emergency fund. But there is one key point that accelerates any financial plan. Increasing your income. Cutting expenses is powerful, but it has its limits. Generating more money opens up possibilities that transform the game much faster. The reality is simple. You can't save what you don't earn. That's why if their current income barely covers basic needs, their effort to pay off debts and invest will be much slower. The big leap comes when they find ways to expand their revenue. This doesn't mean dropping everything and starting a $1 million business overnight. It means using skills, opportunities, and creativity to create new sources of money now. Think about the skills they already have. Do they know how to edit videos, manage social media, give private lessons, cook, or organize spreadsheets? These are competencies that can turn into freelancing, services, or consulting. The digital market has opened up an infinite range of possibilities to turn talents into extra income. And often, this additional income can be built without leaving their main job. Another practical way is to look for passive income on a small scale. Selling digital products, creating paid content, or even renting something they already own, like an empty room, tools, or even their car on sharing apps. Small initiatives that, when combined, create a consistent cash flow. Now, if they're in a traditional job, don't underestimate the power of asking for a raise or seeking a promotion. Many people spend years in silence, accepting the same salary, when they could double their income just by showing results and negotiating firmly. This requires preparation. Record your achievements, show data, demonstrate impact. When you prove your value, you pave the way for financial recognition. And we can't ignore the effect of so-called side hustles, the parallel jobs. They have already become a reality for millions of people who want to accelerate financial achievements. The secret is to choose something that fits into their time, doesn't drain their energy completely, and preferably brings personal satisfaction. This way, the effort becomes sustainable. Here is the point you need to emphasize. Every extra dollar that comes in can be $1 less of debt or $1 more invested. The difference is the destination you choose for it. The mistake would be to increase income and, along with it, increase the consumption pattern. That's a trap. The key is to keep expenses in check and direct the new revenue to accelerate your goals. When you combine budget discipline with increased income, you create a powerful leverage effect. It's like stepping on the accelerator of a car that is already on the right path. In a few months, what seemed impossible starts to materialize. Debts disappearing faster, reserves growing, investments beginning to come to life. This is the moment when you move from just surviving to thriving. Not because life has become easy, but because you have decided to create more opportunities instead of waiting for luck. This mindset is the turning point between those who remain stuck and those who move forward. It's time to talk about a topic that intimidates many people. Investing. You may think that you should only start when you are 100% debt-free. But here is the reality. You can and should start your investment journey while still finishing paying off debts, as long as you do it strategically. Starting to invest early is not about large sums. It's about creating a habit and gaining familiarity. It's like learning a new language. The earlier you start practicing, the more natural it becomes. The money you invest now may be small, but what really matters is time. Every dollar put into an investment today has the power to grow and multiply over the years, something that no traditional savings can match. But before thinking about actions or funds, the first investment is in themselves. Financial education is the foundation. Read books, take courses, follow reliable experts. When they understand the concepts, anxiety decreases and confidence grows. Investing no longer seems like a leap in the dark and becomes a calculated move. Now let's get practical. If they are still paying off debts with high interest rates, their priority remains to eliminate them. But that doesn't mean they have to completely postpone investments. One strategy is to start small. Direct 90% of what is left to pay off debts and 10% to a simple and safe investment, such as a market index or a low-cost diversified fund. This keeps them disciplined on both sides, reducing debts and building wealth. Another essential point is to choose investments that do not require constant supervision. ETFs, for example, are an affordable way to expose oneself to the market without needing to become an expert in choosing individual stocks. They are ready-made, diversified portfolios with low costs that track the economy's growth over time. For beginners, they are a safe and smart entry point. And never forget, investment is not a lottery. It's not about finding the next big thing or betting on risky promises. It's about consistency, discipline, and long-term vision. It is better to invest small and regularly than to invest a lot in a single play. Consistency creates silent wealth, while haste creates frustration. Another myth to break is that investing is only for the wealthy. This idea keeps millions of people stuck. The truth is, with just a few dollars per month, they can already start. Technology has opened up the market democratically. Apps allow investing small amounts, automating contributions, and tracking results. The barrier to entry has never been lower. When they invest, something powerful happens. Their mind starts to change. They stop thinking only about the immediate present and begin to visualize the future. Each contribution is a reminder that they are building something bigger. This creates extra motivation to stay in control, because now there is a clear vision of where they want to go. This stage marks the beginning of their transition from being in debt to becoming an investor. Even if the numbers are not yet at the level of their dreams, the mindset has already shifted. And when the mindset changes, the result is just a matter of time. If there is a silent force capable of transforming their financial life, that force is called habit. Great changes do not happen overnight. They are built by small repeated decisions every day. It's like training a muscle. At first, it seems insignificant, but with consistency, the results become visible and permanent. What truly sets apart those who achieve financial stability from those who remain trapped in the cycle of debts is not luck, not intelligence, and not even income. It is the discipline to maintain habits that strengthen money management. Habits are not glamorous, but they are the glue that keeps their strategy working. Start with the habit of tracking expenses. Recording daily where every dollar goes keeps them aware. It's not about monitoring every step forever, but about training their mind to notice patterns. Over time, this simple habit eliminates impulse purchases because they get used to questioning, does this fit into my plan or not? Another powerful habit is to review their budget weekly. Don't wait until the end of the month to realize you've exceeded limits. A quick 10-minute review every week provides immediate clarity and allows for real-time adjustments. It's like correcting the course of an airplane still early in the flight, instead of waiting to realize the mistake at the wrong destination. Creating an automation habit is also crucial. When their transfers to savings, emergency fund, or investments happen automatically, they eliminate the temptation to spend first. Automation turns discipline into routine, and routine into results. This reduces mental fatigue because it doesn't rely on their willpower every month. Habits are also linked to how they consume information. If they feed on content every day that normalizes excessive consumption, their brain creates artificial desires. On the other hand, if they surround themselves with content that inspires financial intelligence, their thinking pattern changes. Swapping 10 minutes of online shopping scrolling for 10 minutes of reading about finances may seem little, but accumulated over months, it completely alters their perspective. Do not underestimate the habit of celebrating small victories. Every debt paid off, every week without spending on autopilot, every goal achieved is a reason to boost their confidence. This celebration doesn't have to be expensive. It can be a simple dinner at home, a pause to acknowledge the effort, or even sharing with someone they trust. This creates genuine motivation and strengthens their discipline for the next step. And here is one of the most transformative habits: paying themselves first. Before any bill, before any expense, allocate a portion for their future. It can be 5%, it can be 10%. The amount matters less than the consistency. This simple act sends a powerful message. They are at the top of their priority list. Over time, these habits no longer feel like chores and become part of their identity. They no longer need to force themselves. They simply act as someone who manages money intelligently. And when this happens, financial freedom ceases to be a distant dream and becomes just a matter of continuity. This stage is about understanding that wealth does not come from a single big act, but from the sum of daily choices. Habits are the true engine of their transformation. And when they are aligned, no unexpected event can knock down what they are building. You can have the best financial plan in the world, but if their mind and emotions are not aligned, the risk of sabotage is huge. Money is not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It is deeply connected to beliefs, feelings, and even childhood memories. Ignoring this is like trying to build a solid house on unstable ground. How many times have they made financial decisions driven by emotion? Buying to relieve stress, spending to make up for a bad day, using the card as an escape valve. This pattern is more common than they imagine. And it is not about lack of intelligence, but emotional habits that have been reinforced throughout their life. Recognizing this cycle is the first step to break it. The scarcity mindset is one of the biggest enemies of progress. It is that internal voice that says, "There will never be enough, I don't deserve it," or "investing is too risky for me." This kind of thinking keeps them in a cycle of fear and paralysis. On the other hand, the abundance mindset does not mean spending without limits, but believing that there is a real possibility of growth, as long as they direct their choices consciously. Here comes a practical exercise. Every time they feel the urge to buy something on impulse, stop and ask yourself, does this bring me closer to freedom or move me away from it? This simple questioning shifts the focus from immediate gratification to long-term impact. In a few seconds, they create space for more rational decisions. Another important point is dealing with comparison. Social media has created an infinite showcase of seemingly perfect lifestyles. New cars, expensive trips, designer clothes. And here comes the trap: spending to maintain an image. However, this image is often funded by hidden debts. When they compare themselves, they lose focus on their plan. What matters is not to appear rich, but to be free. The way they talk about money also shapes their relationship with it. Phrases like "I will never get out of debt" or "money only brings problems" reinforce negative patterns. Replace this internal dialogue with action statements. "I am building my freedom. Each choice brings me closer to investment. My money works for me." Words create mindset, and mindset creates behavior. And we cannot forget the power of gratitude. It may seem cliché, but recognizing what they have already achieved reduces anxiety and reinforces motivation. Gratitude makes them see progress instead of just focusing on what is missing. When they celebrate what they have, they make decisions with less desperation and more clarity. Taking care of the mind and emotions is as important as taking care of the budget. Because financial freedom is not just about bank balance, it is about peace. They can have a lot of money and live trapped in fear and comparison, or they can be on the path of growth and already feel tranquility. The difference lies in how they deal with the process. This step is about mastering the internal game. When they strengthen their mindset, the external plan is much more sustainable. Because in the end, it is not just about paying debts or investing. It is about living with confidence, without carrying the weight of guilt or anxiety. A plan without goals is just a good intention. To transform their financial life in 6 months, they need clear, measurable, and achievable objectives. This is where many people fail. They say they want to be good with money, but they don't know what that means in practice. If they don't define the finish line, any path seems acceptable, and the chance of giving up increases. Financial goals function like a GPS. They show where they are, where they want to go, and what they need to do to get there. For example, pay off debts is a vague wish. Now, eliminate $2,000 of debt in 6 months is specific, has a deadline, and can be measured. This clarity transforms motivation into discipline. When setting goals, use the SMART framework: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Instead of saying, "I want to save more," establish, "I will save $300 per month for the next 6 months for my emergency fund." When they include numbers and dates, they create real commitment. Another point is to break down large goals into smaller steps. If their goal is to save $5,000, break it down into monthly or weekly targets. Each completed step generates a sense of progress, and that feeling fuels their motivation. Without this division, the goal seems too far away and becomes discouraging. Visualizing their goals is also a powerful trick. Write them on paper and place them in visible places: mirror, refrigerator, phone screen. The more present they are in their day, the more their mind works to align choices with that goal. This creates a constant reminder of why they are giving up certain expenses. Don't forget to connect financial goals to personal values. If their goal is to invest, ask yourself, for what? Retirement security, travel, time with family. Money is a means, never an end. When they give meaning to their goals, sacrifice ceases to be a burden and becomes purpose. And here is the detail that makes a difference: flexibility. Goals are not a prison, they are a direction. If they notice they need to adjust deadlines or amounts along the way, do so without guilt. The important thing is to keep moving, not perfection. Goals that are too rigid lead to frustration. Adaptable goals keep them in action. Celebrating each achieved goal is also part of the process. This celebration reinforces the idea that the effort is worth it. And it doesn't have to be a big expense. It can be a moment of pause, a simple dinner, or even sharing your achievement with someone who supports their journey. The reward strengthens the habit and keeps their energy for the next step. Setting goals is like turning on a lighthouse in the middle of a dark road. Suddenly, they are no longer walking in the dark, but following an illuminated path. This clarity provides direction, confidence, and consistency. This stage transforms the journey from "I want to improve" to "I know exactly what I will achieve and when." And when they bring this level of clarity to their financial life, progress ceases to be a possibility and becomes inevitable. Goals without monitoring are like New Year's resolutions, exciting at first but disappear within a few weeks. To transform their financial life, they need a system that tracks every step, holds them accountable, and shows real progress. Because invisible progress is discouraging, but visible progress is motivating. The first step is simple. Choose a monitoring method that fits into your routine. It can be a spreadsheet, an app, or even a physical notebook. The format matters less than the discipline of recording. What you don't measure, you don't control. And what you don't control, you lose. Define clear indicators for each goal. If the goal is to pay off debts, track how much is still outstanding and how much has already been paid. If the goal is to build an emergency fund, track the accumulated balance each month. Seeing numbers growing is a powerful psychological trigger, as it turns effort into tangible results. Another crucial point is to review at regular intervals. Weekly for quick adjustments, monthly to assess greater progress. This review allows you to correct the course before small deviations become big problems. It's like aligning a moving car. If you wait too long, the correction is more expensive and difficult. Also, create visual checkpoints. Graphs, tables, or even progress bars stuck on the wall serve as constant reminders. Watching the line go up, the bar fill up, the goal getting closer activates the brain differently than just knowing intellectually. It's the difference between imagining and witnessing. And here comes one of the most powerful elements: external accountability. Share your goals and progress with a trusted person. Can be a friend, partner, or even an online community. When you know someone will ask how things are going, the tendency to stay on track increases. Not because you depend on that person, but because public commitment reinforces private commitment. Automation is also part of this system. Set up alerts to remind you to review, automatic transfers to savings, and spending notifications. The less you rely on your memory or willpower, the more consistent you will be. Technology should work in your favor, creating an invisible support network. But beware, tracking is not judgment. It's not about punishing yourself when you don't meet a goal. It's about being clear on what worked and what needs adjusting. Each review is an opportunity for learning. If you spent more in 1 month, analyze the reason, make adjustments, and continue. Failure only exists when you stop monitoring. With an active tracking system, their journey ceases to be a sequence of attempts and becomes a structured process. They stop relying on temporary motivation and start relying on evidence of their own progress. This creates consistency, and consistency is what builds freedom. In the end, this system not only keeps their finances in order, builds confidence. They look back, see the evolution, and realize that the effort is worth it. And when this confidence grows, they gain energy to accelerate even more. This is the difference between dreaming and achieving. Having a system that turns intention into results. They have already structured debts, budget, emergency fund, goals, and tracking. But there is a silent enemy that can sabotage all of this: modern financial traps. They are everywhere, disguised as convenience and status, but in practice they drain your income and delay your plans. Shielding yourself against these traps is essential to not lose the ground gained. Easy credit is the first one. High-limit credit cards, pre-approved loans, installment financing that fits in your budget. All of this seems like an advantage, but in reality, it is the most profitable way for banks to trap you. They offer convenience today in exchange for years of interest tomorrow. The temptation to installments is huge because it eases the moment, but corrodes the future. The rule is simple: if you can't pay in cash without compromising your budget, you can't afford it. Another trap is digital consumption. With a click, they order food, subscribe to a new service, buy that item that appeared in a precise advertisement. Companies spend billions on marketing to turn desire into urgency. And the worst part, the purchase is so fast that there is almost no time to reflect. The defense here is to create friction. Remove saved cards from websites, activate confirmation alerts, give yourself 24 hours before finalizing a purchase. This pause prevents impulsive decisions. Recurring subscriptions are another invisible drain. Streaming services, apps, subscription boxes, monthly clubs. Individually they seem cheap, but together they can swallow a good chunk of their income. The trick is to review periodically and cancel what they don't use or truly value. The habit of just one more can cost hundreds of dollars a year without them realizing it. We can't ignore social comparisons either. Social networks have turned the display of consumption into a cultural standard. The neighbor shows off the new car, the colleague posts about the dream trip, the influencer flaunts luxury brands. Without realizing it, they feel the pressure to keep up. And here's the trap: spending to maintain an image instead of building freedom. The way out is to redefine success. Success is not about looking rich, it's about being free. When they understand this, external pressure weakens. Another critical point is the offer of student loans and long-term financing. Many people enter into these contracts believing they are investing in the future, but end up tied for decades. This doesn't mean education or homeownership are bad, but rather that they need to analyze coldly before committing. Ask yourself, will this increase my income or just increase my costs? If the answer is not clear, rethink it. Shielding their progress is not about living suspicious of everything, but about creating awareness. Every time someone offers credit, discount, or convenience, ask, does this serve my plan or serve their plan to profit from me? This simple change in perspective protects you from falling into traps disguised as opportunities. The discipline that brought you this far needs to be maintained. It's like training for a marathon. It's no use running well at the beginning and stumbling in the last miles. Shielding yourself means ensuring that no shortcut or temptation makes you lose months of effort. This stage is about creating a shield. When they identify enemies and set up practical barriers, it becomes much harder to be knocked down. And when they keep their focus intact, each financial victory becomes more solid and lasting. Getting this far is already a victory. But the real secret is not just organizing debts, setting up a budget, or investing. The secret is turning personal finances into a lifestyle. Because if they see all this only as a temporary project, at some point they will relax, lose discipline, and go back to old habits. Financial sustainability is not a phase, it's an identity. This means that instead of thinking, I need to save for 6 months, they start thinking, I am a person who always takes care of money consciously. This difference in mindset is what ensures permanent results. When they internalize new behaviors, they no longer need to force themselves, they happen naturally. Turning finances into a lifestyle begins by creating automatic systems. When investments, savings, and payments happen without depending on reminders or willpower, they reduce mental effort and avoid relapses. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't need to motivate yourself every day, you just do it. Another point is to adapt their lifestyle to reflect their values. If freedom and time are a priority, they start spending on experiences that truly matter and cut out what doesn't add value. When expenses are aligned with what they value, they don't feel like they are living in restriction, but in fullness. Sustainability also involves flexibility. Life changes. Income can grow, family can expand, dreams can evolve. A healthy financial lifestyle adjusts to these changes without losing balance. It's like having a stable boat. The wind may change, but they adjust the sails and keep sailing. Another essential aspect is community. Surrounding themselves with people who share smart financial values helps maintain consistency. If their entire circle lives with uncontrolled consumption, the pressure to deviate increases. But when they connect with those who value discipline and long-term vision, their lifestyle finds reinforcement. And here is the most liberating point. A healthy financial lifestyle is not about living tight. On the contrary, it's about living more lightly. When they know that each decision is aligned with their goals, they don't feel guilty about spending on what really matters. Money ceases to be a source of stress and becomes a tool for peace. Turning this into a lifestyle also means teaching and sharing. When they talk about money openly, they inspire close people and reinforce their own choices. Explaining their path solidifies their identity. They stop being someone who just learned about finances and become someone who lives finances. This step is about a definitive transition. They are not just getting out of debt or starting to invest. They are creating a way of living where money is an ally, not an enemy. And when this lifestyle becomes part of who they are, there is no risk of going back. The result: sustainability. They no longer rely on fleeting motivation. Their finances are integrated into their life, like healthy eating or exercise. It's something natural, continuous, and rewarding. After building discipline, creating systems, and turning finances into a lifestyle, we reach the most powerful point. Consolidating all this to ensure long-term prosperity. It is not enough to just get out of debt or start investing. The true victory is to ensure that their financial life continues to grow steadily, year after year, without the risk of setbacks. Consolidation begins with continuous review. Once a year, they should sit down to evaluate their entire plan: budget, debts, investments, and goals. Ask, what has changed in my life? What can be adjusted to reflect this new reality? This review keeps their plan up to date and prevents old habits from silently creeping back. The next step is to broaden investment horizons. Initially, the priority was to simplify and gain consistency. Now is the time to diversify. This means exploring different asset classes, stocks, real estate funds, fixed income, retirement, always with a focus on the long term. Diversification is not a luxury. It's protection. It reduces risks and increases the chances of sustainable growth. Consolidation also involves planning for major goals. Own home, retirement, international trips, financial independence. When they envision these dreams and connect their daily choices to them, they create a cycle of permanent motivation. Every dollar invested ceases to be just a number and becomes part of something much bigger. Another essential point is to teach what they have learned. Sharing knowledge solidifies their own discipline. When they help a friend, teach a child, or guide a family member, they reinforce their own principles. Prosperity is not just about accumulating. It's about multiplying impact. And we must not forget about asset protection. As their wealth grows, they need to protect what they have built. Adequate insurance, tax planning, and even a will are part of a mature plan. Many people overlook this step and end up vulnerable. Consolidation is also about safeguarding. Here comes the most important psychological element. Patience. True wealth doesn't happen explosively. It is built with consistency, like a tree growing strong over the years. The eagerness for immediate results can lead to poor decisions. But when they understand that each disciplined month is a brick in the castle of their freedom, the hurry disappears. The consolidation of their journey is the final transition from being in debt to becoming an investor, from survivor to wealth builder. It's not about looking good, it's about being good. It's not about accumulating for status, it's about living peacefully, knowing that each financial choice strengthens their future. This is the point where they look back and realize, in 6 months, they not only fixed their finances but changed their life. They are no longer the person struggling to make ends meet. Now they are someone who masters habits, goals, investments, and mindset. And when this identity consolidates, there is no limit to where they can go. In just 6 months, they have gone on a journey that seemed impossible at the beginning. They have shifted from someone suffocated by debt to someone who knows exactly how to handle every dollar. They have stopped living in the rush of overdue bills to see the future clearly. They have not only organized numbers, they have rebuilt their relationship with money. This journey started by facing the truth. They stopped running away from bank statements and confronted their debts head-on. Then they learned to turn fear into strategy, choosing methods to tackle debts intelligently. They set up a realistic budget that respects their life and doesn't imprison their desires. They built an emergency fund, the shield that protects against unforeseen events. And along the way, they discovered the power of increasing their income and making money work for them. It doesn't stop there. They took the first steps into the world of investments, even with small amounts, because they understood that consistency is more important than speed. They developed daily habits that shape their financial behavior, align their mind and emotions to avoid sabotaging progress, and learn to set clear goals, accompanied by systems that show real progress. They also built shields against modern pitfalls, such as easy credit and digital consumption, and turned finances into a lifestyle. That was the turning point. It's no longer about following a temporary plan, but about living sustainably, where every financial decision reflects their values. Finally, they consolidated all of this on solid foundations, with a long-term vision, diversification, and patience to reap lasting rewards. Now look at themselves. They are no longer just someone seeking relief. They have become the protagonist of their own financial story. And this no longer depends on external circumstances, but on the choices they make every day. Their identity has changed. They are the person who takes the wheel of money, who uses every resource as a tool for freedom. Remember, what started as a 6-month challenge is not the end, but the beginning of a lifetime of prosperity. Each year they can expand their investments, strengthen their assets, and gain more time and tranquility. Because money, in the end, was never about itself. It is the means for them to live lighter, with fewer worries and more space for what really matters. Now the decision is up to them. Will they let this knowledge be just another video they watched, or will they turn it into daily practice? Because the difference between dreamers and achievers lies in a single word: action. And they have already proven they are capable of taking action. Money made easy helps you save with lightness, peace of mind, and time for life.